Even games can have middle child syndrome. Hey friends, it's Just the Gems. I'm Brandon, and I'm in the middle of reviewing the entirety of Blue Reflection Quartet, the new release from Koei Tecmo and Gus that brings together all the disparate pieces of the Blue Reflection story into one package. And when I say disparate, I mean it. Thanks to Koei Tecmo for providing the code for review, by the way. Blue Reflection and Blue Reflection Second Light, the titles that bookend this collection, are full-on JRPGs, and they're both pretty magnificent. Particularly Second Light, which I'll get to soon. In the middle are two titles that are about as different from the main two games as different can be. Let me give you a little history on the series, which should help to make sense of why Blue Reflection Ray and Blue Reflection Sun feel a little bit odd in comparison to the other two. After releasing Blue Reflection on the PlayStation 4 and Switch, the series didn't release a new video game for quite some time. Instead, we got Blue Reflection Ray. This is a full-on 24-episode anime series that tells another story in the world of Blue Reflection. It's actually a really and truly good show. I highly recommend it. It's even available with an English dub, which is more than the rest of the series can say. I've watched it both ways, and they're both enjoyable, but I prefer English because, I don't know, I kind of find Japanese anime voice acting sort of cringy. Just a personal preference. Anyway, not important. What is important is that this piece of the story is important. It's vital to the rest of the series. This is not a spin-off, not a what-if sort of story that just uses some themes from the first game to tell a fun but separate tale. This is where a lot of lore happens, and it's where the setup for the future of the series begins. After the anime, Gus produced Blue Reflection Sun. It was a mobile-only game that we never got, and it lasted for around a year. With something like this, you might be even more inclined to think that this is absolutely not a vital piece of the Blue Reflection puzzle, that it's a spin-off mobile game meant to cash in on the series' popularity. Whew, I gotta tell you, again, that is just not the case. Blue Reflection Sun picks up the ball from Ray and takes it all the way to the goal. The game runs right up to the start of Blue Reflection Second Light, making it not just canon, but super canon. One thing I've always liked about Blue Reflection as a series is how so much of the background and lore is left with minimal explanation. We learn tiny bits and pieces about the history of the world and the characters and organizations, but we don't get too many firm answers. This lets our imaginations run wild, and honestly, it's a great way of telling a story because no solid answer from a writer is ever going to be as good as the feeling you get from wondering and hypothesizing and theorizing. Ray and Sun both do a pretty good job in their original forms of giving us a wider canvas to paint on with our imaginations. We get more info from them than we do from the original Blue Reflection, but we also see the world of the story is so much bigger than we initially thought. It's truly a cool story that they're telling with these titles. However, I mentioned Blue Reflection Ray is a 24-episode anime. That puts it at around 10-ish hours total, and that's 10-ish hours of story, because there's no gameplay. You know, it's an anime. It's all story. The Blue Reflection Ray included in Quartet is approximately a 50-minute experience, wherein you control playable versions of Hiyori and Ruka, the two main characters, and run around the common collecting their memories. These memories serve as super brief recaps of the story of Blue Reflection Ray. Here's the issue with this. As a recap of the anime story, the Ray we have here in this collection is fine. It works okay for someone like me who has seen the show. It reminded me of a couple of plot points I had sort of forgotten about. But for anyone else, anyone who hasn't seen the anime, I don't really know what you get out of this experience, unfortunately. You don't really get to know any of the characters. You're just kind of getting name drops and like maybe a tiny bit of context for their reason for being in the story. That's it. And like I said, I think I clocked in at right under an hour of total playtime. And that included grabbing the non-vital memories that are off the beaten path a bit. It's short, guys. I would have rather seen maybe a movie adaptation of the anime if they didn't want to put all 24 episodes in the collection. But ideally, giving us the whole series would have been great. The anime was supposed to get a physical release, but something happened and that was canceled. So right now, the only legitimate way to watch it is through Crunchyroll. As an interactive recap of the anime, like I said, it's okay. It's not great, but it reminded me of a few things I'd forgotten, so it's fine for me. But for you, assuming you haven't seen the show, no, it's not sufficient, unfortunately. Go watch the show. It's good, I promise. As for Blue Reflection Sun, we never got this game on mobile, so my only experience playing it is here. What I can tell you though is that this also feels like a heavily condensed version of that original game. I finished it in less than 3 hours. That means, of course, that you're not having to deal with any gacha elements or any grinding like I'm sure the original player base had to deal with. That's great. But everything here moves so fast. The story barely has the chance to feel important before it's over. One interesting thing they did, which I'm actually cool with, is they changed the combat system entirely from what Sun originally had. Instead, they're using the combat system from Blue Reflection Second Light, which is a much cooler system in my opinion, so I was happy to get a chance to use it in this game. That's a plus, and it will work as a nice introduction to the people who are playing Quartet through as their first experience with the series. One other minor quibble about Sun, the main character is a voiceless dude. Like a guy. A boy. This is a series that up until this point has gone out of its way to ensure no male characters appear on screen. Sure, a guy might be referenced from time to time, but it felt like a deliberate decision to give the game a sort of weird, ethereal, uncanny atmosphere, like a world without boys. Blue Reflection Sun throws that out the window by giving us protagonist Kun, who has the ability to jump inside the girls' minds. Also, there's another guy that shows up later, so I guess they just sort of decided they were fine with dudes being here. In part, the whole protagonist Kun thing bothers me because it feels like Gust assuming that their audience is almost exclusively male, so therefore it's only natural that their self-insert character would be a boy. But that does a disservice to the female player base, and honestly, it's kind of insulting to me as a guy, too. Like, I'm capable of empathy. I can put myself in someone else's shoes, even if they're female. It's okay. Look, I get that I don't have a ton of good things to say about Ray and Sun. What I will say, though, is that Blue Reflection and Blue Reflection Second Light are still more than worth the cost of entry. If you decide to skip Ray and Sun altogether, I wouldn't blame you. You honestly don't need them. I appreciated having watched Ray when I played Second Light because certain characters from the show appear in the game, but you don't need to. And honestly, I think not having access to Sun actually improved my experience with Second Light the first time. Like I said, the story of Sun leads right up to the events of Second Light. Any player who plays Sun and then plays Second Light is going to know exactly what is going on, even though the characters don't. I really enjoyed the mystery of being just as in the dark as the characters. So maybe Sun is something best enjoyed on a second playthrough of the series. That's going to be my recommendation anyway. So that's that. I'll be back with a more in-depth look at Blue Reflection Second Light soon. I know I've been kind of harsh on these middle entries, but it's only because I think they don't do the series justice. It's a great overall story, and I hope, if anything, these two motivate you to seek out more for yourself. See you next time.